Time now for another in our series Enthusiasts, where we find out about you and your hobbies. Last week it was the newly refurbished Ollie Rama Cinema with Ollie Day, and listening to that was this week's guest. So what do these sounds all have in common? A little bit of campanology there. Pull the other one there. Second World War siren. And a street organ, a miniature street organ. Well, it's all the work of Chris Richmond. He got in touch with us about his passions and pastimes, and to be honest, it's quite a list. We met up this morning.
I'm a hobby filmmaker, a sound recordist. I'm very passionate about history and local heritage. I've got a collection of air raid sirens at home. I build mechanical organs and various other bits and pieces. So, yeah.
Let's start off with the air raid sirens. How did you come across those, and how easy or difficult is it for them to get fixed?
Well, I've had a bit of a sort of a love-hate relationship with the air raid siren, if you like. This all started when I was about 6 years old, and we'd moved to a house in Clyde next to the sea. And there was one of these sirens literally about sort of not even 50 yards away from the house. And when we moved into this particular house, this thing sort of wowed into action in the middle of the night. And as a 5-year-old, that was quite a scary moment. It sort of terrified me as a child, but at the same time it's fascinating how this thing on top of a pole could make so much noise. And of course it's purely mechanical as well. It's just an electric motor with two fans sort of chopping the air, and that's how you get that sound. You know, over the years, the flood warning system, which is what this siren was part of, it was the last time it sounded in anger, and it was 1992, I believe. They were being decommissioned sort of 2009, 2010. And so when I heard about this, I thought it'd be a shame for them to all disappear, because, you know, it's had such an impact on my early life. And, you know, it's not something I wanted to see fade away completely. So I got in touch with Norfolk County Council, who were responsible for disposing of them, and they let me have one for the purpose of preservation, and the collection sort of went on from there.
And it's a very haunting sound that they make. It still to this day makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up when I hear it. But just that howl it makes, very haunting.
Oh yes, definitely. And that was the sort of effect it had on me during my early life. And, you know, they used to test them every August. I always remember the chap coming around and putting the poster up, and it's oh, here we go, 9:30 and 4 o'clock on the last Saturday in August it was. Yeah, you know, I look back on that now, and it's all part of me and how I am and this collection of sirens I've got.
The street organ, that you've actually made the street organ, haven't you?
I've made a small 20-note mechanical street organ, yes. Based on plans designed by a chap called John Smith, who designed them so these small ones could be built by complete amateurs who have an interest. And so I've built this 20-note street organ. It's been one or two places. Last time I took it out, it went down to St Albans, and they actually have a sort of a mini organ festival for Christmas, where people like myself go down and showcase our instruments and make an afternoon of it.
How long did it take you to build?
Ooh. It's hard to say, really. John Smith reckons you can build one in a month, and I think if I had all the experience and all the bits I needed, I could have done so as well. But it's one of these things, I focused on it for a while, then it got put on the back burner, and then I finally finished it about 6 months later.
And where did you source all the parts? Did you have to make them yourself, or did you order them?
Made them all myself. The instructions and the patterns are all there, and you just sort of assemble it. But I went one step further, because although the gubbins inside are all this, you know, as per the instructions, I went a little bit further and built a casework that was specifically designed to look like a street organ that I've had a fondness for ever since I was a child, which is the one that belonged to the late Teddy Cushing. And so I incorporated John Smith's plans into this sort of ornate casework, and it's really quite something.
And your filmmaking, you've got quite a CV when it comes to film and sound, haven't you?
Oh yes, well, I've been here on Radio Norfolk several times before under the Norfolk on Film featurette. Yeah, I just like to showcase some of the the interesting stuff that goes on in our part of the world here in Norfolk. More recently, I've been doing more of a sort of vlogumentary thing, so I've been focusing on the things that I like, that other people may also like, like my street organs, and we haven't really done one about air raid sirens yet, but
give it time.
Give it time.
And the other thing is your just describe the mechanical horse you're making. This took me by surprise, because you've sent us in some pictures of your hobbies and pastimes. This is an amazing looking thing. Tell me about how you made it, where you got the parts for that.
Well, again, everything is made completely from scratch, but this all started, I don't know if some of you can remember, the last proper pantomime here at the Theatre Royal in Norwich. We had the production of Cinderella, and of course I watched it, and the close for Act 1 was the typical sort of carriage reveal for Cinderella, and all of a sudden this amazing animatronic horse on the front just came into life, and I thought I'd quite like to build something like that, just because you heard the sort of the reaction from the audience, and I mean, I wasn't expecting that to come to life either. And so I thought if I could recreate that, it'd be quite something. And of course, yes, it's nearly finished. And if I can get it into an Amdram production of Cinderella in the coming years, it'd be great, wouldn't it?
So can I just ask you, I'm not being rude, but my house, because I do a lot of model making, my house is sometimes a complete and utter tip. It looks like landfill, my front room. It's not so bad at the moment. You're a model maker, you're a restorer. So what's your house like?
Very tidy, and the few people who I let into my house will verify that. I keep my house reasonably clean. There's probably 2 rooms where I do most of my projects, and I do like to keep the place tidy. I don't really like clutter, but I like interesting things.
Well, if I were to go away for a few days, would you sort my house out while I'm away?
When would I find a time?
That's true. Are you still bell ringing these days? Are you still into your campanology?
Of course, yes. We're all just sort of getting back into it, because obviously with these restrictions, ringing has been pretty much non-existent for the last sort of 18 months-ish, because it's a group activity, and of course group activities aren't really allowed. I mean, we have here in Norfolk, we have a few sort of bell ringing families, and they've been ringing bells in some of the local churches, but outside of all this, no, there really isn't a lot sort of happening at the moment, but people are starting to come back into the swing of it.
I always think campanology is the hobby with appeal. Well, you had a little bit of intellectual humour for you there. What do you get out of your hobbies? Because the people we've spoken to so far with this series have just found it so absorbing, especially the past year or so, and it's really settling them down, and it's something you can lose yourself in. What does it all do for you?
Well, I suppose absorbing is a good word to use there, but I don't really know how to describe it. It just like interesting things. I've had people say, oh yeah, these are worth a fortune, yeah, you should sell those, but it's not about the money to me, it's about being interested, and it keeps my little brain occupied, and people find it interesting, and I find it interesting talking about it, so it just gives me a bit of character, doesn't it?
What other projects have you either done or are looking forward to getting your hands on?
Well, hopefully we've got a few more sound recording projects to undertake. I've still got my Norfolk Bells sound recording project to finish, which hopefully when we're all bell ringing again and I can access the towers again. But I'm hoping to sort of get my sound career off the ground this year. As cliche as that sounds, I've got a couple of projects to look forward to, so we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, while we're chatting away here, is that you're not frightened to turn your hand to pretty much anything. I mean, if you can go from bell ringing to restoring Second World War air raid sirens to building a mechanical horse to a street organ, it suggests that you're not frightened of having a go at pretty much anything and making a success of it. Would you take on commissions if someone thought, I know a man who could do that for us? Would you be up for that?
Well, surprisingly enough, I have had a couple of requests already for similar things to the animatronic horse, but it's all something new for me. It's not something I've sort of gone into because I'm good at it. It's all a learning curve, but if I should be flattered really that people asking me stuff like this, but again, it's all about time. I'm very busy, but if you notice, a lot of my hobbies are all sort of directed towards sound or music, so
speaks volumes.
Yeah, nice pun there.
Chris Richmond, what a fascinating man. Like I said, talking about hobbies and pastimes, he's got them all. If you are like Chris and you've got a passion, a hobby or a pastime that you want to share with us, get in contact with us. It's stephen.bumfrey@bbc.co.uk. Just put enthusiast in the subject line. I'd love to hear from you. Really, really, really would.